You know, I wanna see the game in a versus. Who would be a good component in a game's versus? You know, we have guys that mentioned they would do a versus. We have Buster, we have LL Cool J, Usher, Rick Ross, Pusha T. Like, but I really want to see Game do a versus. I think a versus with Game would be good. And I know a lot of people would want to see Game and 50. A lot of people would want to see 50 and Ross. A lot of people would want to see T.I. and 50. But when you think about the records the Game had, who would be a good person to go up against Game? Because the documentary is definitely a classic. The documentary definitely made platinum numbers. So, and the thing about the Game is, like, you know, he don't shy away from competition. And his last album, Born to Rap, that was a hard album. But when you think about all the records he has, like, he definitely has 20 records he can play. Just off the documentary alone. Like, he can play, like, West Side Story, Hate It or Love It, Dream, Higher. You know, got records like Dope Boys. Records like Wouldn't Get Far. Like, you know, he has numbers of records even with the city. Like, he would definitely, like, I mean, I would like to see Game do a versus. I would like to see Nas do a versus. Shoot, let's get some Christian hip hop up in there. And I know a lot of people probably wouldn't want to see that, like you know, because they kind of have it split off. I don't really like that personally, but, you know, we got guys like John Keith, Aaron Cole, Victory, Cannon, NF, of course Lecrae. We can get some of these guys doing the verses, like Swiss and Tim. Set that up, or I will. And let me just take it off music for a second. If we had go by go, who has better movies? Spike Lee or Steven Spielberg? Who would win a versus against Tyler Perry? What movie is better? I Know What You Did Last Summer or Scream? What trilogy is better? Candyman? Well, I'm not even gonna go there because that would be a wash. But you know, I like, you know, this is something that is entertaining to see. You know, me being like a movie buff, a music, hip hop connoisseur, R&B head, like, I like to see these things. Like, these are my interests. Like, I like to see things like this. And, you know, I do appreciate those listening. Welcome to The Vibe. I've been going back and forth, like, deciding on if I want to present a new podcast series. Me and my brother and sister talked about it. I know what you've seen last podcast. And you got to think like I'm sitting here looking at like I've been looking at a lot of streaming a lot lately. Like what's the better football franchise? Friday Night Lights or All American? Like I saw the movie of Friday Night Lights. I haven't seen the series. All American is good. What's the better action series? Cobra Kai? I should have written this down because there's quite a bit. But yeah, I just sit here and think about a lot of TV, music, and things that we are missing out on. Because again, some watch Snowfall, some watch Power, Ghost, BMF. I mean, 50 Cent gotta probably be the best rapper to transcend behind LL and Snoop Dogg. I remember when I first LL Cool J is probably the only artist that people probably forgot that he was a rapper. Probably outside of Will Smith, but like LL Cool J, will he be a good opponent for Busta Rhymes in the Verzuz? I think it would be good. I mean, but LL, man, people don't realize, LL, he carried Def Jam for a little bit, you know what I'm saying? Like LL, he was doing his thing in 86, 87, right before I was born, and it was just LL, to me, LL's GOAT. And even though a lot of his records I forgot about, because like I said, he had been so removed from the game, and like I said, 80s hip hop and early 90s hip hop is still kind of it's not foreign to me, but it's different. It's just a little bit different. LL is just a GOAT to me, and it knowing the next person outside of him, is Cube, Snoop, and then we have, of course, Busta. That man been Busta is another animal in itself. But like I said, I want to see Game do a Verzuz. Game, this guy rap, man. I remember when he talked about Jay-Z, he told he kind of played him. He kind of played Game, but I was like, man, bar for bar, man, Game's a monster. Who would be a good Verzuz for him? You got to think about the records he made, and then he had some hits. And another one is of course, Timbaland's guy Pusha. Pusha got some records, but again, a lot of the content ain't no different than all his the others content. But this would be good. I'm going I want to see these type of Verzuz. I want to see directors and producers and movies and stuff go head to head. You know what I'm saying? What's the better trilogy? Tobey Maguire Spider-Man or Iron Man? You know what I'm saying? Or Tom Holland Spider-Man or Iron Man and stuff. What's the what? I want to see these things. Who is better, Batman or Iron Man? Who's the better villain, Thanos or Joker? I like to have debates like this. Who would really win in a fight between Superman and Goku? Like, I want to see conversations like this. That's why I get on these pages on my social medias and like I look at these debates and they was talking about Batman, always having prep time. And I'm like, he would get smashed by a lot of his enemies if they had prep time. I'm like, Batman then did so much stuff without prep. And I'm like, and I hate when people try to diss DC as if a lot of Marvel characters didn't stem from DC. Like Ant-Man being the first Marvel, I believe Ant-Man was the first Marvel character. He stemmed from, I think, the Atom or something. And then, of course, you have Quicksilver and the Flash, but Marvel and DC make better shows. Marvel make better movies. But correct me if I'm wrong. But did they drop the ball? Did they drop the ball when they had they mentioned they handed out Miles Morales in No Way Home. We all seen Spider-Universe, the Spideyverse. My question is, are they going to have a live action character? But stand back into, the verses, you know what I'm saying? Who would the gang be? Who can the gang do a versus with? Who can Buster do a versus with? What movie's better? Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer? What franchise is bigger than Harry Potter? Lord of the Rings is pretty big, but not bigger than Harry Potter. Twilight, their universe is okay, but not bigger than Harry Potter. Fast and Furious, totally different movies, but not bigger than Harry Potter. So it's like, because these are like movies, like Harry Potter is probably the biggest franchise movie. It surpassed Star Wars. It surpassed damn near all the Marvel movies. But yeah, like I'm sitting here thinking, like, what trilogy is better than Blade? Because Blade Trinity was kind of trash compared to the other two. But like I said, the Candyman trilogy was kind of trash compared to the other two. I wasn't a big fan of I definitely wasn't a hell of a big fan of I Know What You Did Last Summer's trilogy. See, Scream was the only trilogy that I was actually enjoying. I think I would have been happy with it ending at 3. But yeah, these are just certain things that I'll be discussing. Like, I'll be having these discussions with so many people, like in the groups and everything. Like, I just want to, like, I like competition. I like having these discussions and matchups because it's like, okay, what can it do? Like, it's just something going back into my previous episode about men like being competitive, and it's just like that's just in our nature to be competitive. But again, I just wanna see matchups. Like I said, Spike Lee or Steven Spielberg. We know Tyler Perry does a lot of Medea, but he got other stuff like Sisters is a beast. Like is that show better than Girlfriends? Is Tyler Perry Medea? Is she bigger than Martin and his characters that he played on his shows? And all the, well, Miss Doubtfire, of course, rest in peace to Robin Williams. But I don't know. Sometimes when I think about these things, I want to share it, and I want to share it on the podcast. I want to share it on the episode because it's like I feel like it kind of builds up certain conversations, and that's all I want. And that's the third thing that I want to do. Like I want to build up certain conversations, start certain debates, just for entertainment purposes. So, I mean, yeah, like, what car do you prefer, a Beamer or a Benz? A Mustang or a Corvette? An Escalade or goddamn Explorer? Man, like this is stuff. But anyway, my focus really is on spinning off the podcast onto other shows, like other episodes. Like I wanted to build a whole universe of shows, a whole universe of streaming episodes behind this. Starting off with the streaming television TV shows of I Know What You Seen Last podcast. We have the remake of Candyman, the remake of Scream. Are we going to get any more of the like where does what's left for Cobra Kai? All American with the American and the Homecoming, and everything, and then we had also, like I said, with a lot of the new apps coming, like everybody's about to have an app now. It's going to be hard for us to keep up. We have Power spinoff shows of Force, which is going to be starring Tommy. I forgot his name, Joe something, and we're in season 2 of Ghost, and going to start on season 2 of the Raising Kanan soon. So these are all spinoffs. There's 3 spinoff shows of Power, and then like I said, we have the spinoff show All American with those of you who watch with Simone. So like I said, this is something that I want to do with my podcast, is have some spin-off episodes of certain conversations, certain episodes. So when AB1 Studios becomes a bigger production, what was that? When AB1 Studio become a big production company that I can then branch off into like film, into like like television series. Like these are certain things that I have that I'm sitting here planning for my just coming from out the podcast alone. Like, you know, shout out to the brilliant idiots Charlamagne and Andrew Schultz. You know, Charlamagne, you know, he has become a force in media, and he's not even a rapper or a movie star. He was a radio personality. And though I'm not a radio personality, I am a podcast host, and I do all my productions, all my editing when I do edit. But again, like, I gotta take my hat off to. He's definitely a podcast influence for me, along with Joe Budden. But I do want to talk about these things. Like I said, I want to branch off beyond just podcasts and Apple and Spotify. You know, there's a scripture somewhere in the Bible when it talks about write it down and make it plain. It's about having your vision board set. So that's the type of thing. This is why Verzuz is so important. This is why Verzuz have become such a big part of the culture, and I hope they make another one, because again, these type of like all these conversations that we used to have growing up as kids have come to fruition. You know, even though some of these matches, even though a lot of these dream matches haven't happened yet, and a lot of these, like, again, I didn't expect to see DMX recipes of Snoop Dogg having a versus. I would rather have seen, you know, DMX and maybe, you know, 50, maybe even, you know, damn near, might even Busta. But, you know, Snoop was good. Like, I didn't see that verse, but it was good. And like I said, the verses, it actually builds different entities. Like I said, with the verses now, we have these conversations that we can now talk about. So, okay, we can actually now see these dream matchups. You know, we talk about, you know, Jay-Z and Nas, but it's like, okay, Jay-Z didn't want to do verse, but we can talk about Usher and Chris Brown, and now we can actually have, now these jokes are realistic, because now we can have these discussions and actually think about, okay, who's gonna do it. Because when we list, like, because again, it's still gonna be your opinion, but when we listen to these records back to back, like when they go on song for song, we can actually start thinking about, so, you know what, this is probably how it is. But it's all, again, how they play things. I'm sure that even though it's not a battle, or like people say this is win, but people are keeping score. I think it's just based on what songs you play. I'm pretty sure there's some people who probably could have did a better lineup with, you know, the Locks and Dipset. They probably could have did a better job than they did. Like, even with Naughty by even with 3-6 Mafia and Bone Thugs. You know, and then now that they did that, you know, who do Outkast do a versus with? Who do Mobb Deep do a versus with? Is Little Kim gonna do a versus? And then going back to the movies, because again, these movies are a little bit different because they are longer, but like, who's going to do a, you know, Spike Lee, like what Who's a better film director, producer than, Spike Lee, Steven Spielberg, Quentin Tarantino, Tyler Perry? Because Tyler Perry is on a whole different level. He got his own damn studio in Atlanta. But these are just certain things that I think about, and I just think about certain things. Like I said, I'm gonna have these conversations. I want to have these conversations with other people where we're talking about music, movies, shows, just having certain discussions and debates, just to spark up more discussions and debates, just to kind of stimulate our insight and perspective. So, blessed ones. With that said, tell me some things that you would like. Like, tell me like a matchup that you would like to see. Movies, music, television shows. So you could do Jordan or God dang Jordans or Kobe's or something. Like, who has more shoes than Jordan? But what's the better shoe? What's your favorite Jordan? Like, what's your two favorite Jordan shoes? Or just certain things. Like, it just sparks up, stimulating. It's just good. Jesus or Santa Claus? Michael Jackson or Prince? Kanye West or Wayne or something, Drake or something. But yeah, y'all stay safe, stay proper, stay productive, stay positive. This is Blair, your Cancer Care Bear, and I do appreciate y'all listening out to my rants, listening out to my random thoughts, listening to my off-the-wall charts of perspectives and insight. I'm just having a good time, you know what I'm saying? I'm just having a good time. Sometimes I gotta have a good time. Sometimes every episode is not going to be as serious, not going to be as deep. Some of these episodes are going to be just damn near like all over the place, but I do appreciate y'all listening. I do it just because I can. I do it just because I love it. I do it just because I want to, and nobody's going to stop me but me. Godspeed, because the devil is alive.